Little Green Frogs, written by MaryAnne Kettering, told by Kym Lamb. Grandpa? Yes, James. How did you and Grandma meet? And was it a long, long time ago? It was a very long time ago, James. Was it 100 years ago, Grandpa? No, James, not quite that long ago. It still seems like yesterday, the first time I saw your grandma smiling up at me under the apple blossoms. She sure was pretty. Had golden curls just like you, James. Just like me, Grandpa? Yes, James. Grandpa, could you tell me the story, please, of how you and Grandma met? Okay, James, I'll tell you the story. It all started with little green frogs. Wow, look at all the little green frogs. There must be a zillion that live in this lake. I've been trying my hardest to catch one, but I think I need something for bait. I sneak up quietly behind them, and every movement I make is slow. How is it they can hear me when I'm on the tippiest tips of my toes? I just want to touch one and feel it. I've never seen a prettier green. Look at their little white pot bellies. I bet they're as soft as buttery cream. My, how they move in the water so fast. If I had webbed hands and feet, I'd swim and catch them at last. I would like to know where their speckles come from and why they sparkle so gold in the warm summer sun. Their little green noses above the water they poke. I bet they laugh at me and think I'm a joke. They're saying, "Look, here he comes. Doesn't that kid ever give up? Be on your guard now, fellas, and get ready to jump!" Gosh darn it! There they go to hide in the reeds with a splash and a wave and the greatest of speed. But I won't follow them there, no way, 'cause that's where Mr. Sneaky Snake and the warm sun lays. That old snake stands guard on the bank, and I think just maybe he guards the frogs. Dumb snake. I'd like to drop on your head a big old log. Oh well, I'll come back later when the frogs think it's safe and they swim back over to this side of the lake. I will catch a frog. I want one, you see, to scare the pretty little girl that lives down the lane from me. Oh, Grandpa, what a silly name for a snake, Mr. Sneaky Snake. Was he great big and did he have teeth? Well, James, he was about 2.5 feet long with beady eyes. The teeth part now, I'm not so sure about. Most snakes have what are called fangs. They're similar to teeth in a way. There's 2 of them attached to the upper jaw, bone on either side of the mouth. Gives them a reason to smile, I guess. Grandpa, you're silly too. Was Grandma afraid of Mr. Sneaky Snake? I bet she was. All girls are afraid of snakes. Aren't they, Grandpa? Even snakes with silly names? Well, James, your grandma was quite a girl in those days. She still is. How about I finish the story and you can make your own decision, okay? Okay, Grandpa, I'm ready to listen. I want to hear more about the frogs and Mr. Sneaky Snake. Ready? Roger, go ahead. The sun reflected off the golden curls that ringed the face of a blue-eyed girl. She was in the top of a tree that grew next to the lake, and she watched a young boy in fun, but at the boy no fun did she make. The little girl was smiling at this boy, who was shaking his fists in the air. He shook them toward the departing frogs that were swimming fast and scared. The little blue-eyed girl, too, wanted a frog to catch, but she had come prepared. She had come with a net. She stayed hid in the top of the tree until she was sure the boy was gone. Then as she made her way to the ground, she made up a little song. She sang, "I'm gonna catch a frog, a great hunter, yes am I. I shall give it to the boy, and then he shall be my friend." Around the lake she made her way to where the reeds and cattails grew, to where the frogs had hidden themselves, and to where Mr. Sneaky Snake was too. Mr. Sneaky Snake lay on the bank. He was striped from head to nose. He lay coiled in his sunny spot like a neatly piled hose. The little girl saw him and said, "I've no time for you, Mr. Sneaky Snake. You're lucky I'm hunting little green frogs today. So you better crawl into your hole. But whatever you do, get out of my way. So get out from here, you ugly old thing. Before I kick you so far, you'll wish you had wings." The little girl fiercely stomped her foot. The snake stuck out his tongue. He thought, the heck with having wings. If I had legs, I'd run. So he uncoiled his long, sleek form and slithered quickly to his hole, away from the blue-eyed girl who was standing her ground, so bold. She told him, "You can have your bank back later. You can have your sunbeam too. But for now, you'd better stay in your hole until I'm finished here and through." The little girl was done with the snake. She had told him what she thought of the things that he had better do and of the things that he had not. She could see where the frogs were hiding. Carefully, she brought forth her net. She was thinking which one she would like and decided the biggest would be the best. She crept slowly down the bank, and there before her on the ground was a very large green frog, ever so big and fat and round. She thought, he must be the biggest of all the little green frogs in the lake, and if I don't hurry and catch him, he might end up being breakfast for the snake. So she tightened her grip on the net's handle, and she carefully aimed and swung. And the thing that she'd set out to do was the thing she'd just now done. The very surprised frog struggled to get out of the web he was in. It must be a humongous spider to have spun this web it had spinned. He strained with all his might, but it was all to no avail. Why did he leave the water and the safety of the reed and cattail? The little girl held the net down. She was on hands and knees getting upon the ground, and the frog ceased his struggling when he heard the girl's laughing sound. On her face was an enormous smile. How her eyes sparkled brightly, and the trophy she now held in her hands she held onto very tightly. She held the frog up before her. He must have weighed a pound or two. She looked into his golden eyes. He looked into her eyes of blue. She said, "Well, Mr. Frog, I've caught you. Now the little boy we must go find." She turned away from the water and up the bank she climbed. She yelled down to Mr. Sneaky Snake, "You can come out of your hole in a minute. I've left my net by the water's edge, but I'll be back later to get it." Mr. Sneaky Snake heard her footsteps fade. Then up out of the hole his head did come. He stuck his tongue out at the girl walking away. Then he went back to his spot in the sun. Now, where could that little boy be? Maybe he's down to the pasture by the cows. Maybe he's up in his treehouse. Yes, that's where I'll look right now. The blue-eyed girl made her way to the orchard. The frog was still held tightly in her hands. She stopped under the boy's treehouse. He was there, and she was glad. She yelled, "Little boy, come down from your treehouse. I've got something to give you." She heard a loud bang and a scramble. Then on the ladder appeared two shoes. The little girl stood there smiling under the blossoms. The little boy held his delight inside. And when he saw the frog she was holding, well, he just couldn't believe his eyes. She held the frog out to him and said, "Here, he's yours to keep. You can do whatever you want to. You can even set him free." The boy said, "How did you ever catch him? Wow, he is really neat." And he touched the soft leathery skin, and he touched the big webbed feet. The sun, filtering down through the blossoms, made the frog's golden spots to sparkle and shine. The little boy could not believe his fortune and asked, "Is he really mine?" The blue-eyed girl smiled shyly and said, "Yes, I caught him for you. I saw how much you wanted a frog, so I thought I'd see just what I could do." The little boy smiled his thanks. He felt such gratitude. Then the three went up into the treehouse. It was the start of a friendship so new. Oh, Grandpa, this is such a nice story. And Grandma wasn't afraid of Mr. Sneaky Snake, was she? No, James, she wasn't. Your grandma's always been kind of fearless. Grandpa, what did you and Grandma do with the frog? Well, James, we set him free, of course. He looked sad, so your grandma and I put him back on the bank where she caught him. He's still probably swimming with all the little green frogs today. Do you really think so, Grandpa? Mm-hmm. Grandpa. Yes, James. Do you think Grandma would catch a frog for me? The end.